Early in my business career, I learned that there are certain characteristics of people that stay poor most of their lives and certain characteristics of people that gain wealth or gain riches over their lives. And it really depends on which path you take in order to produce those results. So there are certain things that people do that basically keep them poor, and it's a traditional way of thinking. The normal way of thinking about how to approach life from an income standpoint is that you should figure out what you want to do for a living. So what kind of job, what kind of industry you want to be in, what do you want to study in school to get there? And what most people do is they figure out, oh, I want to be in this type of career or do this type of job. And then they'll go out and seek that job after college or high school, and they'll figure out what they can earn in that job. And then they build a lifestyle based on whatever income level or revenue level that they get by that career or that business. The problem with that is that it's a very limiting belief. It basically only allows you to have the lifestyle that is created by whatever job or business that you go into. And in a lot of cases, that job or that income level may not support the kind of lifestyle that you actually want. So people end up with a very limited life because they're only concerned with what they're going to be doing for their job. And then they live their life based on whatever level of income that job brings in. Now, what wealthy people do is they do it in the reverse order. At first, they dream and they plan and they set goals about how they want their life to be. And a lot of times they're going to set short-term, mid-term, or long-term goals based on where they want their lives to be in 3, 5, 10, 20 years. And not just from an income level. They're talking about experiences. They're talking about where they want to live. They're talking about what they want their days and their weeks and their months and their years to look like. And what they do then is they figure out, this is the lifestyle I want in these amount of time frames. And now I need to figure out what I need to do over here on the job, business, income, revenue side of things in order to obtain that lifestyle that I actually want. And so what they do is they go over and they figure out, what am I good at? What do I want to do? What can I do in order to build that life that I want over here? So that's the main difference, is they do everything basically in the reverse order that most people do it. They figure out what kind of life they want, and then they go and build it based on whatever revenue it takes to get there. Now, as a part of their revenue or their income plan, they're also thinking long-term what they need to be doing in order to put money away or acquire something called assets. And assets are basically just things that make you money. Okay, a lot of people think that liabilities are assets, such as your car, boats, your house that you live in, other material possessions that you may have paid a lot of money for or may be worth a lot of money at a certain point in time. But really, those liabilities are taking money out of your pocket and not bringing money back into you in the immediate future or the distant future sometime later down the road. So again, the difference between an asset and a liability is that an asset brings you money and a liability takes money away. For example, the house that you live in is technically not an asset unless it goes up in value over the long term, and then you can sell that house for a larger sum of money than you actually paid for it. And that can be a long-term asset for most people. However, as you are living in that house for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you are not gaining any money in the immediate future. So a lot of people think that my net worth is gaining because the value of my house that I live in, my primary residence, is going up in value year after year. But in actuality, you have property taxes to pay. You have home maintenance. You have bills that are due. You have to pay insurance. Then you have to do upgrades and repairs to the property. So these are all liabilities that you have to keep paying month after month, year after year. And only at the end of the race, hopefully, you sell that property for a higher amount than you paid for it, and maybe a higher amount than what you paid for it, plus all of the maintenance and fees that you ended up having to pay along the way. In a lot of cases, if you did the math, it actually would not work out that you are gaining money. However, I will say this, a lot of the gurus online don't tell you this because they want to say rent your house, don't buy it, you shouldn't own your primary residence, it's a liability. What they're not saying though is that you have to live somewhere. So you might as well live in something that you own that is going up in value over time. Because if you're simply just renting a property, now you're not getting any of that long-term gain, and you're actually throwing money away every month that you're not getting back at some point in the form of long-term appreciation. So that is one key to owning your primary residence. It may not be a true asset, but it's probably the best way for you to gain some money over time in the place that you live. Another thing that wealthy or rich people talk about is being poor versus being broke. In reality, poor is just a state of mind. People that stay poor year after year, generation after generation, that's simply a state of mind. It's habits that they've built. It's a way of life that they have gotten used to. And it's things that they're doing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis that are keeping them broke year after year. I've been broke myself. A lot of people out there that have gained wealth over time have been broke from time to time. People file bankruptcies, people have a bad business deal, people go through divorces that may wipe out their bank account or may bring them back to a zero balance. But poor is a state of mind. Poor is a mental state. And it basically means that you are not thinking in an abundance mindset. You know, that's why we say things like, oh, poor him or poor her, poor kid, those types of expressions. That's because we feel sorry for that person. It's their misfortune that we are basically talking about in that sense. Someone that's broke can absolutely bring themselves out of it as long as they don't have a poor mentality. As long as they're approaching it from a wealth and an abundance mindset, they have the ability to bring great amounts of money and riches to their lives, to their families over time. And that's really the biggest difference between mindsets here, is that broke is a temporary circumstance. Poor is a state of mind. And that's why people stay poor year after year, because they're not thinking about the world, they're not thinking about their lives in an abundance mindset. We've all heard those stories of lottery winners or musical artists or athletes that have gained a lot of money through their contracts and through revenue. But then 3, 5, 10 years later, they're broke again, or they're just poor. And that's because they have not changed their habits to be wealth accumulation oriented. They're instead thinking that money is a thing that they constantly need to spend. You know that old expression, it's burning a hole in my pocket? Well, imagine you had a little lump of charcoal and it was hot and it was in your pocket. What would you want to do with it? You would want to get it out of there as quickly as possible. That's how poor people think about money. They think that it's something they have to spend or they need to spend. That's the purpose of money. When you get it, you have to figure out where it's going to go, what you're going to buy, who you're going to buy it for, what experience are you going to do for yourself or for someone else. And they don't understand that part of the money that you gain, whether it's through lottery winnings or whether it's through revenue or whether it's through income at your job, you need to put away some of that money so that it grows over time. Whether that's in a paper investment like stocks, mutual funds, bonds, treasuries, all that kind of stuff. It could also be in a business. You could invest in a business that makes you money. You can invest in hard assets like real estate, ones that bring you rental income every month, or development deals for land or commercial properties. There's all sorts of ways to invest in things that are going to gain money over time without you having to do the physical work anymore. You have to stop trading time for money. And you have to stop treating money as something that needs to be spent 100% of the time. So I learned this lesson a long time ago, early in my business career, that if I want to gain wealth, if I want to have financial freedom, that I will have to transition from a poor mindset to a wealth building mindset. And that just simply means that I have to stop trading my time for money and I have to acquire assets that will help support the lifestyle that I want rather than creating a lifestyle based on the amount of money that I'm currently making. I hope this video has helped you out in your wealth building life. If it has, go ahead and leave a like or a comment below. Let me know what questions you have, share the video, and as always, subscribe for for more info on building wealth, success, motivation, and having the life that you want. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.